Welcome to This Day in History, created by American Heritage Worldwide, a reminder that every day holds something new to learn. Did you know Cinco de Mayo celebrates Mexico's victory over France during the Battle of Puebla on May 5th, 1862? Discover how this victory became a symbol of courage and resistance against foreign control. Learn that today, Cinco de Mayo is a celebration of Mexican culture, heritage, and pride, and that every year, the annual running of the Chihuahuas takes place in Washington, D.C. to celebrate this special day. Welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. We are so glad you're joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here.
So today, millions of people are going to scoop up some guacamole, pour a drink, and celebrate the birth of a nation.
Right.
Except they are actually celebrating the wrong date, the wrong war, and, well, entirely the wrong century.
It's true. I mean, it is genuinely one of the most pervasive, collectively accepted historical mix-ups in modern culture.
Yeah.
Because we see the bright colors, the parades, the national pride, and we just automatically assume, oh, we're watching a country celebrate its independence.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because if you ask the average person on the street what Cinco de Mayo actually is, the overwhelming majority will confidently tell you it's Mexican Independence Day.
Oh, without a doubt.
But we have this massive stack of notes and historical sources in front of us today. And our mission for this deep dive is to extract the actual surprising facts behind the 5th of May.
And it is quite a journey.
It really is. I mean, we're moving from a gritty 19th century battlefield to high-stakes dog races in Washington, D.C., of all places.
Right.
And then ultimately zooming way out to the profound, eternal importance of exploring our own family trees. But to understand why we celebrate, we first have to understand what we are actually celebrating.
Exactly. We have to clear up this massive misconception right out of the gate.
Yeah, to put this into perspective for you, confusing Cinco de Mayo with Mexican Independence Day is basically like confusing the 4th of July with a specific regional Civil War battle.
That is a great analogy.
Yeah.
They are completely different moments in history, separated by decades. They involve entirely different global conflicts and enemies.
Right.
If you want to celebrate Dia de la Independencia, the actual Mexican Independence Day, you need to mark your calendar for September 16th.
September 16th. And that was in 1810, right?
Yes, exactly. 1810.
Okay, so that date is the famous cry for independence. It's the spark that ignited a grueling, years-long war to overthrow the Spanish colonial government.
Right, which is the definitive birth of the sovereign nation.
So if the nation was born in 1810 against Spain, what on earth happened 52 years later, on May 5th, 1862, that was significant enough to eventually command, international parades?
Well, that date marks the Battle of Puebla, and this took place during the Franco-Mexican War.
Okay.
So at this specific point in the 19th century, French troops, who were representing one of the most formidable global powers of the era, by the way, they were trying to establish a firm military and political foothold in Mexico.
Wait, let's pause and look at the mechanics of that, because France wasn't just, passing through.
No, not at all.
Establishing a foothold meant they intended to project imperial power and dictate terms in what was a newly independent nation.
Exactly. And Mexico was still a very young country at that time.
And they were facing this overwhelming, heavily equipped military machine.
Which is what makes the outcome so critical.
Yeah.
Because against those staggering odds, Mexico secured a massive victory at Puebla on that single day. They literally halted the French advance in its tracks.
But, it wasn't the end of the war, was it? Winning one battle doesn't just immediately expel an invading empire.
No, it didn't end the war at all. But what's fascinating here is the psychological mechanism of the victory.
Okay.
This wasn't just a tactical military win. It was an existential one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because when a young, developing nation is staring down the barrel of a global superpower, the greatest threat isn't just the loss of territory. It's the collapse of national morale.
Oh, that makes sense.
The victory at the Battle of Puebla proved to the Mexican people that they could stand their ground. It became this incredibly powerful, enduring rallying cry against foreign domination.
It proved that their sovereignty was real and defensible.
Exactly.
I can totally see how that becomes a foundational story for a nation. But here's the disconnect I really want to dissect.
Sure.
How does a specific morale-boosting military victory from 1862 evolve into the widespread cultural phenomenon we see today? Because, we don't typically see millions of people throwing massive street festivals to commemorate the Battle of Gettysburg or the Battle of Waterloo.
No, we don't.
There's a missing link between a 19th century battlefield and our modern festivities.
There is. And the missing link is the 1960s civil rights movement in the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah, specifically the Chicano movement. That is where the meaning of the holiday grew and underwent this massive evolution.
Interesting.
In the early 1960s, Mexican Americans were actively fighting for political representation. They were fighting against discrimination and really trying to build a cohesive identity.
Oh, I see where this is going. When you are building a grassroots social movement, you need historical anchors. You need
Right.
symbols.
You need a precedent for resilience. So Mexican-American activists looked back at history and found the Battles of Puebla.
Wow.
And they didn't just embrace it as a piece of military trivia. They recognized the powerful parallel. Here was a historical moment where marginalized people faced overwhelming, well-equipped forces and held their ground.
That is amazing.
Yeah, they claimed that underdog victory and repurposed it into a vital source of pride in their heritage.
That is a brilliant piece of cultural engineering.
It really is.
They took a military victory against foreign imperialism and just turned it into a modern symbol of cultural strength and resilience.
Exactly.
It wasn't about France anymore. It was about the strength of the Mexican identity.
Right. It was a conscious claiming of history to empower a present-day movement. And because of that pivotal shift in the 60s, the holiday expanded.
Yeah.
It broke out of the confines of military history. So
Yeah.
today, the day commemorates all of Mexican culture and heritage, not just the events of May 5th, 1862.
Well, here's where it gets really interesting. Because when a holiday transitions from a historical remembrance to a holistic celebration of culture, the way we celebrate completely transforms. It becomes this immersive sensory experience designed to transmit that culture to the next generation. Like, we see parades filling the streets with dancers dressed in the most vibrant, colorfully detailed traditional outfits.
And the music is paramount. You really cannot separate this modern iteration of the holiday from the lively folk music played by mariachi bands.
Oh, for sure.
That music is the heartbeat of the celebration. It's designed to get people moving, to physically engage everyone in the joy of the heritage.
Yeah, the sensory details aren't just for show. They are the delivery system for the culture. And honestly, the most universal delivery system we have is the food.
Yes.
Eating a yummy Mexican dinner is a central pillar of the day. You sit around a table, you share a bowl of guacamole, you pass around an easy-to-make salsa, and you are literally participating in a tradition.
Yeah, the delicious food is the entry point for so many people to appreciate and honor the culture.
Definitely.
Food, music, and dance are how we externalize our origins. They are the visible, tangible proof of our heritage. But as these celebrations have grown, communities have started finding incredibly unique and highly localized ways to externalize that same heritage.
Which brings us to one of the most surprising notes in our stack today.
Yes, it does.
Because when you think of honoring Mexican history, you think of Puebla, you think of the 1960s civil rights leaders. You probably don't think of a high-stakes bracket tournament in the middle of Washington, D.C. featuring tiny dogs.
No, you don't. But the Capitol has definitely taken the concept of celebrating origins and given it a very specific, very adorable twist.
Right. I am looking at the logistics for Washington, D.C.'s annual running of the Chihuahuas. Now, to be fair, the historical connection is completely valid, right?
It is.
Chihuahuas are a native breed that originally originated in Mexico. So celebrating the dog is a way of celebrating a piece of the region's natural history.
Exactly.
But the execution of this event is something else entirely.
It's wild. The structure is incredibly rigorous for what is essentially a massive display of canine chaos.
I can only imagine.
They don't just let a pack of dogs loose in a park. This is a structured competition. The dogs race down a designated 60-foot track.
Okay, wait, let me playfully challenge the physics of that for a second.
Go ahead.
A 60-foot track. For a dog whose legs are like 4 inches long,
Yeah.
how intense does a bracket actually get for a breed historically better known for riding in designer purses than sprinting?
It is quite the physical feat for them.
Yeah.
And it is highly, highly organized. They run 16 separate heats.
16 heats.
Yeah. Those serve as the qualifying rounds, with 8 Chihuahuas competing in every single heat.
Oh my goodness.
And the winners of those 16 heats then advance to the semifinals, which eventually culminates in a final round to crown the overall champion.
A 16-heat bracket system. People take this remarkably seriously, but I assume this isn't just about the intense glory of having the fastest Chihuahua in the capital.
No, not at all. It is fundamentally a charitable event. All of the entry fees from this massive tournament go to benefit local animal shelters.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So the dogs are racing for fun and fame, but the human organizers are channeling that energy into community support.
And looking at the event details, the sheer speed isn't the only metric of success, is it? There's a secondary competition running parallel to the bracket.
The costume contest.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
It confirms the fun nature of the whole thing. The dogs and their owners strut down that same 60-foot track together, actively trying to win the audience's hearts and take home first place in the costume division.
Wow.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, whether it's through the mariachi bands, the shared bowls of guacamole, or racing a native Mexican dog breed down a track for charity,
Yeah.
these are all different mechanisms achieving the exact same goal.
Right.
They all serve one core human purpose, which is celebrating and honoring where we come from. We are just obsessed with our origins.
We really are. Because understanding where we come from is how we orient ourselves in the present.
Yes.
But that outward celebration of culture, the food, the festivals, is only one half of the equation. Because behind the music and the festivities, there is a much deeper, profound mandate regarding our heritage.
Yes, there is.
This is where our deep dive pivots from the public square to the deeply personal. Because honoring our heritage isn't just a fun weekend activity or even a civil rights touchstone. Historically and spiritually, it is an essential part of our lives.
When we talk about heritage at its root, we are talking about our ancestors. We are talking about the literal lineage of humanity. And we have factual historical accounts that present the preservation of that lineage with immense gravity.
Right. Let's look at one of the most striking examples from our sources. This comes from the foundational historical events of the Latter-day Saint movement.
Yep.
We have a factual account of the prophet Joseph Smith receiving a visitation from an angel named Moroni. And the message the angel delivered wasn't a casual piece of advice. It was a profound directive about human heritage.
Exactly. The angel Moroni quoted counsel that was adapted from the Old Testament book of Malachi. And the factual historical text reads, quote, "And he," meaning the Lord, "shall plant in the hearts of the children the promises made to the fathers, and the hearts of the children shall turn to their fathers. If it were not so, the whole earth would be utterly wasted at his coming."
Wow. Let's just dissect the sheer weight of that language for a second. The whole earth would be utterly wasted.
Yeah.
That is a staggering statement. It implies that the entire purpose of human existence is entirely dependent on our connection to our past.
This raises an important question, though, about the weight of this counsel and what it actually means to turn our hearts to our fathers.
Right.
This isn't just a suggestion to look backwards or flip through old photographs out of nostalgia. The angel Moroni is outlining a profound directive. If the chain of memory is broken, if we fail to remember our family heritage, then the earth fails its purpose. It is utterly wasted.
It frames family history not as a hobby for retirees, but as the central unifying mechanism of humanity. Like the bravery of soldiers at the Battle of Puebla, the resilience of activists in the 1960s. Those are the public macro-narratives of history. But the angel's mandate is about the micro-narratives. It's about your specific ancestors.
Which means we have a responsibility to actively pursue that connection. And the remarkable thing about living in the modern era is that we actually have the tools to fulfill this counsel today.
Yes, we do.
Working on our genealogy is how we actively turn our hearts to our fathers.
And we no longer have to cross oceans or dig through unlit basement archives in foreign countries to do it.
No, not at all.
The amount of internet resources available for family history right now is just unprecedented. You can literally sit at your desk, type in a surname, and pull up census records, ship manifests, and birth certificates from centuries ago.
Those internet resources democratize the process of uniting our families. And the sources point out that this unification isn't just a metaphorical concept.
Right.
By doing our genealogy, we actively unite our families here on earth and in heaven. We are literally stitching the human family back together.
Every time you uncover a record, you are rescuing a person from historical obscurity. You are ensuring they are remembered, which fulfills that mandate to not let the earth be wasted.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean? Let's take this massive concept and make it deeply personal for you listening right now. What have you learned about your family from working on your genealogy?
That's the real question. Because when you actually start digging, the abstract concept of heritage suddenly becomes very real.
Yeah.
You discover the specific battles your ancestors fought, whether those were literal military battles or quiet personal battles of survival, immigration, and resilience.
You realize that the blood of survivors is in your veins. You wouldn't be here if someone in your past hadn't possessed the exact same resilience that we celebrate on holidays like Cinco de Mayo.
Right.
Exploring our family history is the ultimate way to celebrate the true spirit of heritage that underpins all of these festivities.
It completely moves the celebration from a date on a calendar to the reality of your own existence.
It really does. Well, let's synthesize the journey we've taken today. We started by tearing down the popular myth of May 5th, establishing that we are not celebrating an 1810 independence, but the triumphant morale-boosting Battle of Puebla in 1862.
Right. And we looked at the mechanics of how a young nation stood up to a global superpower.
Yeah. And then we explored how that specific 19th century military victory was consciously adopted by the civil rights movement of the 1960s, transforming it into a vital symbol of modern cultural pride.
A pride that is so vibrant today, it is transmitted through mariachi music, traditional dances, and shared meals of salsa and guacamole.
Absolutely. We also saw how that desire to honor origins manifests in highly unique ways, like the fiercely organized 16-heat Chihuahua racetracks in Washington, D.C.
Right, where a native dog breed sprints down a 60-foot track to benefit animal shelters.
And ultimately, we traced that outward cultural celebration down to its deepest spiritual root. We analyzed the factual historical account of the Angel Moroni's message to Joseph Smith, emphasizing the profound directive that if we fail to turn our hearts to our ancestors, the earth is utterly wasted.
And we explored how utilizing internet resources to do our genealogy fulfills that counsel, uniting our families on earth and in heaven.
Everything we have discussed today is fundamentally about the power of memory. So I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over today.
Okay.
If the bravery of a few soldiers holding the line in Puebla in 1862 could ripple out to create a massive international celebration of heritage over 160 years later, what small traditions, quiet sacrifices, or family stories are you preserving today that your descendants might be celebrating a century from now?
Wow. History isn't just something that happened to other people. You are the ancestor of the future.
You really are. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you take some time today to enjoy some delicious salsa, maybe make a quick bowl of guacamole, and dive into a little family history research of your own.
Definitely. The resources are waiting, and your ancestors are waiting to be found.
Thank you for joining us for this day in His story. May the lessons of yesterday inspire you to see God's hand today and to play your part in His story now. For more faith-based learning, visit ahsworldwide.org, the homeschool for faith and family.